If someone asked me, rank the 5 major sports in terms of which one is the hardest, off the dome I would say 5 soccer, 4 basketball, 3 football, 2 baseball, and number 1 hockey. However, let's break it down to find out which sport should be considered the hardest and which one should be considered the easiest amongst the 5. Disclaimer: I'll be looking at the basis of the sport itself, not a specific position, because at that point it would just become too complicated choosing between which position is the hardest in which sport, so we'll just keep it simple. Anyways, we'll be looking at 3 major factors which I decided on my own personal opinion should determine which sport is the hardest. First, we got hand-eye, which will count for 60%. Second, we got physicality, which will count for 30%. And lastly, we got stamina, which will count for 10%. Now, how will the scoring work? Well, I'll look at all 3 of these factors one by one, ranking each sport 1 to 5, and they will receive difficulty points based on the position they rank in. Obviously, these sports will be ranked based on my own opinion, and I'll briefly explain why I decided to put a certain sport in a certain position. You can let me know if you agree or disagree. And at the end, I'll be adding up all the difficulty points from the 3 major factors to give us a difficulty score, which will be used to determine which sport is the hardest among the 5. First, we'll be looking at hand-eye. At number 5, we got basketball. Compared to the other sports, it does not require hand-eye. Although shooting requires accuracy and muscle memory, it's not the same as hand-eye. Therefore, it'll stay at number 5. At number 4, I'm going to put football. You have to run while making a catch. That requires hand-eye. Also, as a quarterback, you need to scan the field, watch defenders before throwing, so that's also counts in hand-eye. At number 3, we got soccer. Now, you play this with your foot. It's not the same as hand-eye, but it's, body-eye. The same concept, and, you don't need to be an expert to find out. It's harder to play with your feet than it is with your hands, so we'll put that at number 3. At 2, I'm going to put hockey. It has a small puck, hard to see, as well as you're using a piece of equipment in order to make contact with the ball, unlike soccer, basketball, and baseball, where you'd make contact with your own body. So it'll be sitting at 2. Leaving baseball at 1, same thing as hockey. You have to use a piece of equipment in order to make contact with the ball. And also, you're pretty much looking at 90-mile-per-hour balls every time you step up to the plate. So easily it's going to be number 1 for hand-eye. Moving on to physicality. Now, I won't be counting any unsportsmanlike fouls or any freak injuries that could happen. Just based on the rules, what are players able to do? At 5, I'm going to put baseball. There's not much contact in the sport. Normally, you just have to tag the runner, if anything. The only time is really when a player is running to home plate and make a collision with the back catcher. But outside of that, there's pretty minimal contact in the sport. At number 4, I'm going to put basketball. Now, there's a lot of contact in the sport. However, that contact is very minor compared to the other 3 sports. Ticky-tack fouls here. You got hit in the arm, foul. So we'll leave it at 4. At number 3, we got soccer. I know it's known for all the flopping and everything. However, based on the rules, you're able to slide tackle. As long as you get the ball first, it's clean. And you could go in pretty rough with these tackles. So it'll stay at number 3. At number 2, I'm going to put football. You could argue this should be 1. However, I'm going to leave it at 2. Basically, there's contact in every play between the linesmen. Usually a player ends up getting tackled, so it has a really good case of being 1, but I'm going to leave it at 2. Leaving hockey at 1, where there's hits allowed. Now, there's probably not as much hits compared to the NFL or football, but I would argue that hockey hits are harder. And even without that, you're allowed to fight in hockey, which is why I give it the number 1. Lastly, we'll move on to stamina. At number 5, I'm going to put baseball. There's not much movement in this game outside of running the bases. So when you're fielding, you're not expected to move much. And there's 9 people batting, so you're not on the field the whole time on offense either. At number 4, I'm going to put football, simply because you only play one half of the field. You're either offense or defense. You don't play both sides, so I'll keep it at 4. At number 3, we got hockey. You got to play both offense and defense. However, your shifts are only like 2, 3, 4 minutes long, so I'll keep it at 3. At number 2, I got basketball. Similar to hockey, you have to play both offense and defense. However, the shifts are longer compared to hockey, so I think it's good at number 2. Leaving soccer at number 1. And this is, without saying, easily the sport that requires the most stamina. The fields are larger compared to the other 4 sports. The games are longer. You have to play both offense and defense. Without a doubt, number 1. That wraps up all the difficulty points. And I know. These 3 factors don't tell the whole story. You know, there's other factors involved playing sports. However, I believe these 3 were the biggest factors, so we'll continue to see how each team ranks in terms of which one is the hardest to play. At number 5, we got basketball with a difficulty score of 1.6. At number 4, we got football with a difficulty score of 2.6. At number 3, we got soccer with a difficulty score of 3.2. At number 2, we got baseball with a difficulty score of 3.4, leaving hockey at number 1 with a difficulty score of 4.2. Now, comparing this to my original opinion, we can see there's a couple of changes. Now, I do believe this new ranking is probably better. You know, what's a chef if he's not going to eat his own food, right? So, I don't have a choice but to agree. Regardless, I believe hockey is the hardest sport out of the 5, just because you're playing on ice. You have to skate, which is much harder than running. You know, can you skate? Maybe. Can you run? Most likely. So simply by that alone, I would put hockey at 1. Anyways, that's all for this video. Let me know, do you agree with how I ranked these teams on each factor? And do you think I should have added more factors? I think it's fine the way it is, but feel free to disagree. And I might update this video with more factors and, you know, a different ranking depending on what I hear.
Tell me what you see. Is it money or it's me? I smoke 20, smell the weed. I got